Hello fans of lesser known visual artists, this is Music is a Journey. As you have no doubt seen by the title of the video, this video is dedicated to the visual artist, the late visual artist Sonia Mota. Most of you will probably not know who Sonia Mota was, and so in order to explain about her, I will have to explain the story of how it is I knew her. And that takes us back to, well, basically Music is a Journey episode 1 from a little over 6 years ago. I'll put a link to the video here. I have to tell you about the English guitarist Colin Tench. Colin Tench had been traveling the world for many years when he decided, I think around 2010, to stop traveling and set up home in Sweden. Colin had played in a couple of bands in England back in the 80s, very little known progressive rock bands because, you know, in the 80s progressive rock was not really the hot item. One of them was a band called Odin of London, and one of the members in that band was a fellow named John Cully, if I have the name correct, and if that is the correct John Cully. He was formerly a member of Black Widow as well as another band, very popular, lesser known, but nevertheless popular band from the early 70s. It starts with a C, and for heaven's sake, I cannot get the name to the tip of my tongue right now. Something like Cassandra, Cressida? Was that it maybe? Cressida? Anyway, that one. So Colin and John Cully had played together in Odin of London. So when Colin stopped his travels and settled down in Sweden, he wanted to get in touch with John Cully, and he didn't know how to reach him. But he found that there was a fella in Finland who was in charge of the Black Widow fan club site, and that was a guy by the name of Pasi Koivu. Now, Pasi Koivu was a Finnish keyboard player and composer. So Colin got in touch with him and told him, yes, I used to play in a band with John Cully, and Pasi had actually never heard of the band Odin of London, and he was intrigued. So he said, do you have any music you can send me? And Colin ended up sending him the recordings of the album of Odin of London. I think the album was actually never pressed or released. Colin just still had the master recordings. So anyway, that started Colin's relationship with Pasi Koivu, and Pasi said to him, look, I'm composing some stuff, maybe you'd be interested in playing guitar on it. That is how the band Corvus Stone got started. So Pasi and Colin began working on music together. A fellow by the name of Petri Lemmy Lindstrom, a bass player who was very active in several bands, came in to join Corvus Stone, and partway through the recordings they attracted the attention of an American drummer named Robert Wolf, and that became Corvus Stone. Now, this is back in 2010 or so, and Colin decided to, I guess, start doing a little bit of networking, and so that is how he of course got in touch with Petri Lindstrom and Robert Wolf. He also connected with other people such as American vocalist and multi-instrumentalist Blake Carpenter, who has done several things such as The Minstrel's Ghost, Voice of the Enslaved, his own solo stuff under the name of Blake Carpenter, and as well he has sung on Petri Lindstrom's Petri Lindstrom project album Hail to Sabbath, an album of songs composed by Petri Lindstrom but that sound like Black Sabbath. So anyway, Blake Carpenter was part of that group. There were other people such as Steph and Yolanda Fleming from Belgium who were part of the group, and they had their own band called Murky Red. So along with a few other people, this kind of networking circle grew a little bit, and it eventually got them, many of the members there also became connected with the Melodic Revolution Records label out of the US. As I previously have mentioned, and I've actually featured music by various artists on this label a number of times back in the early days, the first 2-3 years of Music is a Journey. So they got in touch with them. Nick Katona, the head cheese, the big top hat guy for Melodic Revolution Records. And so in this circle, this group of people, one of the early members to join was a young lady named Sonia Mota from Mozambique. At least she was there at the time. And she was very instrumental in moving in very close to Colin, and I mean, they were closely connected, and that she gave a lot of advice because she was a big fan of progressive rock, so she had a lot of input, and she was an important part of that inner group anyway. Where I came along was around 2016. Colin Tench saw a review I wrote on Prog Archives, and he contacted me and asked if I would be interested in hearing his band's album. And I was really impressed by this because I had read about other people reviewing on Prog Archives who were being sent albums from groups for free. And I thought, wow, am I really good enough? Am I deserving of this? But Colin reaching out to me and then offering to send me a copy of his band's album, Corvus Stone 2 is what it was, we'll talk about that shortly, that connected me to Colin, and that got me, I don't want to say right in the group, but it got me in touch with most of the members who were in the group, including Sonia. Okay, so let's talk about, now you know how it is I know Sonia, let's talk about her works. So, first of all, well, let's take a look here from the very beginning. This album here is Corvus Stone, self-titled debut album. Sonia did the artwork on here. Here is an enlarged version of that. As well, inside, she did artwork for one of the tracks called The Ice King, and this is actually Blake Carpenter, rendered as the Ice King by Sonia, with a crow on his shoulder. As well, on the disc, the artwork on the disc inside and on the disc, that's also by her, and also the booklet inside too. Whoops, that is actually a little signed card from Colin. No, what I wanted to do is take a look at this booklet inside. Here we have some of the artwork here from the album cover without all the extraneous details, just the crow on the tombstone in the cemetery. Here's some of the background details. There is a cinema here because there is a song on the album. Let's show the artwork here enlarged. Here's another interesting photo, another image, a detail from the album cover. I'm not exactly sure what media Sonia worked with, but I'm thinking it included some painting or digital painting as well as actual photographs. Which I guess she then worked all those things together on the album artwork. So that is the debut album by Corvus Stone, which goes back to 2012. So we should also look at Corvus Stone 2. She also did the artwork for this, and here is the enlarged image. Inside we have Scandinavians in Mexico. It's all these like chili peppers with mustaches here and dancing ladies. Here's the enlarged image. And also the CD booklet. Now, Colin always thought that a CD should have lots of stuff to look at, just like record albums did long, long ago. An interesting thing here is a phonograph. And there's actually, on the record, on the turntable, is the Corvus Stone debut album. Also, out through the window, we can see some of the details from the debut album. Here too, there is the moon outside. I think Sonia had a lot of fun putting these images together. And, oh, and here we go on the back. This is Corvus Stone as a Mount Rushmore type image with 4 crow heads. And actually we've got the signatures, Pasi Koivu, Petri Lindström, and Colin Tench down here. Obviously Robert Wolfe being in America might have been a little more difficult for him to sign the CD. But that is the second album, Corvus Stone 2, with works by Sonia Mota. And then Colin, actually let's talk about Corvus Stone, the third album. So it was not actually released as a CD, it was a digital download only. It featured some new tracks as well as some remixing of some of the older tracks, because when Colin first did the mixing for the debut album, he was still learning about mixing, and later on he had more experience. He also mixed albums for a couple of other bands, including Murky Red. We'll take a look at another album in a moment. And so he wanted to remix some of the original recordings of Corvus Stone. There were also some additional versions and some new material. So this is the artwork for the third album here. Digital download only, unfortunately. But then Colin began working on his own stuff. Now, he actually had been putting up, I think it was on SoundCloud, he had been putting up some of his own works. And so these were eventually worked out into the Colin Tench Project, CTP. And the funny thing is, when Colin did an interview with someone, somebody jokingly asked, what does CTP stand for? And Colin said, can't tell people. But of course it's Colin Tench Project. Anyway, it's called Hair on a G-String. And again, the artwork is by Sonia. Here's an enlarged image. And see if you can spot the Corvus Stone 2 album cover lady's butt in the wallpaper. She's there. So some of the inner artwork. It seems Colin with no pants on, or maybe only underpants, I don't know, playing his guitar here. And yeah, some also, there's the piano, and there is him sitting at the piano. All right. Let's take a look at the CD booklet. So, Colin Tench Project featured a lot of guests, including Peter Jones, whom you might know for Tiger Moth Tales, as well as he's been with Camel now for the last little while. It might still be there as far as I know. So there's Peter Jones added into the picture. Here's some artwork. We also got Phil Narrow, because Phil Narrow guests on some of the songs here as well. And then just some of the other band members. Some of them are the usual gang, some of them are special guests. So Sonia did artwork for all of that. And there is the piano, and perhaps you can see the Corvus Stone 2 lady's backside. Colin's final work was the second, part 2 of Colin Tench Project. This was called Minor Masterpiece. And it was released in December of 2017 as a digital download, and the CD was later issued a few months after, 2-3 months after anyway. Unfortunately and very tragically, Colin died of, I think, heart failure maybe just a few days after this album was released. If I remember correctly, it was December 27th, 2017. So this was a real shock. The guy who did the orchestration on the 2 Colin Tench Project albums, Gordo Bennett. This is a t-shirt, Gore Fusion from Gore Music. This is Gordo Bennett and Joe Serenowski, one of the single instrumental pieces they released. And the artwork is actually mine. You can see the Music is a Journey icon back there. That's this moon character here. But anyway, we're not talking about me. Inside we've got a actual photo of Colin, and then one of Sonia's paintings of Colin. And what's interesting is this little boy on the cover. Let's look at an enlarged version here. He is conducting a symphony, and you can see he's got kids' drawings on the paperwork. But also you can see the shadows behind are that of a guitarist. And then there is a sheet of paper on the floor next to him. He's standing on a book. And on that sheet of paper, it actually says, verse, loud, E minor, E minor, E minor, loud. Chorus, A minor, loud, E minor, E minor, E minor. And that also appears in here on the actual artwork. And on the back it says the set list. And then here's the track list for the songs. So that's Sonia's work together with Colin Tench, both in Corvus Stone and the Colin Tench Project. But Colin was also involved with a band called Oceans 5. This is Andy Bradford's Oceans 5. Andy Bradford has done a lot of stuff under his own name, but he also had a band going called Oceans 5. Colin Tench plays guitar on here. Steph Fleming of Murky Red is on here on bass. He normally plays guitar. And of course, Sonia did the artwork for this as well. Return to Mingale, by the way, is the name of the album. This is kind of a mix of what, like, sea-song folk music mixed with rock. There's this humorous little image at the back with someone who looks like Popeye, and then Colin Tench as Olive Oil. That was kind of a fun image that was circulating at the time. Yeah, so she did the artwork for Oceans 5. And there's a little image of her on the back here. It says, a relatively unknown artist from Mozambique, Sonia Mota, has completed this intercontinental collaboration by producing amazing artwork for us. So there's a thank you for her on there. So I previously mentioned Petri Lindström, the bass player who played bass in Corvus Stone and on the Colin Tench project. Petri's been involved in a number of bands of his own, and one of them is called, I think it's called Progland. It's spelled P-R-O-G-E, land. So maybe it's Progland, maybe it's Progland. Sonia has done Sonia did the artwork for this as well. I'll include a larger image here. This album, by the way, is called Gate to Fulfilled Fantasies. It was the debut album of Progland, and then they had a second album, but in between they released a song for Winter. Sonia did the artwork for that, so here's that image. Sonia did a number of other little things, like in the kind of circle that was going on, like on Facebook, she was posting stuff, and she did one for Gordo Bennett. Again, Gordo Bennett, Gore Music, the fellow who did this music here and did the orchestration. He also plays a really mean, 8-string guitar. But anyway, here's an image she did for him as a Mexican. And here's an image that she did for me. So you can see Mount Fuji in the picture. That makes sense, all right. And there's a funny little thing about Gordo's gone fishing, his Mexican gear lying there on the ground. And I'm wearing a Mountie hat to signify I am from Canada. I'm not really sure why I am a carrot. I think there was something there that Sonia understood that I didn't. But anyway, it was really cool to have an image made for myself from this wonderful artist. So what happened? Well, after Colin Tench passed away, there were a lot of final dialogues going around with members of the group, and everybody then went off to their own projects. I know Petri Lindström was involved in various things. Pasi Koivu released some solo material. Steph Fleming and Yolanda Fleming in Murky Red, they had their own projects going on, and there's been a lot of silence there for a long time now. Blake Carpenter has since released material. Robert Wolfe has been involved in other works. I mean, just like the whole group, I think Colin was the center that held everyone together, and he was gone, people just kind of moved off in their own directions then. And Sonia probably last reached out to me in 2018. She sent a Facebook message asking me if I had some information about something, which I didn't. Said, sorry, I can't help, and that was the end. I never heard anything from her again, and I didn't see her posting anything on Facebook. We were just all really like loosely in touch or just out of touch. But during this, I'm home for the holidays, by the way. We have 9 days off here in the middle of summer. A few days ago, I woke up to see a Facebook message, which actually was a whole bunch of Facebook messages. Someone created a group for everybody who had known Sonia, and I was added to the group by a woman from Italy, Ariana, who used to do a couple of music shows, like podcasts. But anyway, this group, there was all this talk going on, and of course I had a whole string of messages to scroll back through to find out what was going on, but there was Sonia's picture, and what I could gather, everyone was talking about her in the past tense, and finally I reached the thing that I was looking for. Somebody said that she had actually passed away at the end of January this year, but I think because she was down in the southern part of Africa somewhere, and she had been out of touch with a lot of people in the group, the news just really didn't get around, and it's like it just suddenly hit everybody, and then all people who knew her and were connected one way or another to her and the group there were all commenting. So I really didn't have so much to say, because I felt I was on the periphery. I was connected to Colin, and I think the Flemings, we're kind of okay. You know, we've had some connection there, and Ariana in Italy and her husband Angelo, we're still in touch on Facebook, but most of everybody else, we've just seemed to have all gone our separate directions. So I don't really know what to say, just that is Sonia. She was part of that group of people. She was right in there in the center, and she was very much involved, not only in creating artworks, but also in, actually reviewing the music as Colin created it. He would often send her samples of the music first and ask her opinion about things. So she was a really important person to that group. So we lost Colin, and the group kind of splintered, and then, yeah, Sonia, unfortunately, is, I guess she's up giving advice to Colin on his music once more and creating images, I guess. Okay, I think I have to end it here. So it's just, I wanted to tell anybody out there who's interested in listening to about the artworks of Sonia Mota. And very sweet person, very friendly, very fun person. And it's just really sad that she's gone at such a young age. There was still so much more she could have contributed, but I don't really know what her story was in the last few years. So that's it. Anyway, everybody, thank you for watching, and do check out some of the early Music as a Journey videos, if you will. A lot of these different artists and groups I've mentioned are featured in those. If you like, I have a playlist called Listen to These Artists. All of the videos in there are featuring, all of those videos feature samples of music, sometimes 30 to 40 seconds, sometimes 50 seconds. All of them are used with permission from the artist and the labels and so on. So, yeah. That's it. I'll sign off now. Thanks everyone for watching, and see you again in another video sometime. And Sonia, rest in peace, but keep doing your thing.